Light wells. I was asked to create a light well, and I've done this in the past, most of the time within stairs, and most of the time when we've done it, we haven't actually modeled it. We've actually just detailed it out. Since now I actually have to render it, I actually need a model at this time, not just detail it out. So to model it, and because it's going to be between two separate wall systems, I need to build a model component. And so thereby I need to plan out what that model component is. So first thing I actually try to do is to figure out what type of parameters that I need. So in this case, I'm wanting to have the outer width, the height, the inner height, the depth, the thickness, a bottom offset, and a left offset. I watched a video from the Balkan Architect. I'll put a link in below. But anyway, this family that he created, that I duplicated for myself, did everything I wanted to do. The only problem is that I needed to go beyond a single wall. I needed to, because my depth is more than what a single wall will do. Yes, I could probably make a double wall that family that does that, but in this case, I kind of want to do some more adjusting. So I'll have to look at using the principles of that video from the Balkan Architect. I'm going to go ahead and create a new family. And it'll be like either a generic family or it could be a special systems family. But anyway, it won't be a window family. So now we'll go ahead and start a new family. In this particular case, I'm going to go down and look for just a generic family, wall-based in this particular case. You can always change what type it is after the fact. So now that we're in this wall-based family, I'm going to go ahead and add all the parameters we talked about before. So we'll start with one of our widths, and for now, make them all instant parameters. That way, we can adjust it as we flex the family around. So let's go ahead and make all of these parameters. All right, now that we have all of our parameters, now we need to start to build our framework, which in this case we're talking the framework in Revit families is our reference planes. So we'll create our first reference plane and plan, which we'll have its dimension tied to the face of the wall. This one will be our depth parameter. So now that we've have that, we can go ahead and we'll name that. It's good to name your reference planes at times, and especially this one that's going to tie to things more so. So we'll just change the dimension so it's the depth. Actually, something I should have done before I started building the frame, back when I was putting in the parameters, was putting a default dimension. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Go into the parameters and just put what those default settings for each of those parameters that we set were. Okay. Okay, now that we've done that, let's go to one of our elevations and again do more of our framework. So more reference planes. Do our base reference plane here, and we'll just build out the rest of them, the left side, and some of our offsets planes. Do the same thing in the horizontal reference planes. And now we'll start to add our dimensions to it. When I had the center one, that's always good to have the center point, so, and that's always equal, just as a general rule. So again, just adding all the dimensions. Once we have the dimensions, we'll go ahead and apply them to the parameter. And as you can see, because we did the default, it moved to what we said we wanted the default size to be. Okay. We'll kind of flex it a little bit so you make sure it works. Again, add all the dimensions we need to add based on parameters that we already set up. Now you could get into trouble and over-constrain this. So, and that's what I've done here, but that's why I also put a couple of other parameters in here that are just for reporting its information. We'll start to flex it, see if it flexes the way we wanted it to, or if we break it. All right, so we'll go ahead and change some of these numbers. We'll apply it. Okay, it's working. I'll change a couple more. And let's see, apply. Yeah, that's working. All right, so it's flexed. Now that we've tested it, now it's time to start to build the elements, the parts of the actual component, and we'll tie them to this. So first thing we'll do is create a void extrusion, and we're going to lock it to the reference planes, the framework that we'd already created. But you will notice that I'm not going to actually lock it right to it. I'm going to create an offset to it. And then I'm going to actually, from that offset in this particular case, is going to be the thickness of the it's going to reference to the thickness parameter. That way the hole that we're building is a little bit bigger than what we actually need. And then we'll attach the void there. Now we have our void extrusion. Since we're in void creation, let's go ahead and make the void, the tapered void that we need. So we'll do that with a void blend. This will be used more so later down the line with when we create the mass part, but we'll still need the void anyway. So go ahead and create that, and pretty much the same way. We'll just lock it to the outside lines, lock them down. Then after we lock those down, we'll go ahead and lock them down to the interior lines. So we'll create another side. We'll void that, lock them down to those, and like I said, we'll just lock them down. Once that's locked down, we'll lock them to okay, we've done the verticals, now we need to do the depth. All right, so now we need to zoom in here. Okay, get in here. Gotta get in closer. All right, so we'll take that, lock it to our depth plane. And we'll just to be on the safe side, we'll move the front out and then move it back and lock it to the front of the wall, the placement side. I got that locked down. Now we have our secondary void, and now we can try to start to create our actual mass object. Okay, we'll go over here. We won't do extrusion, we'll do blended. Now, just the same thing as the other. So we're going to go ahead and lock it down as well. I'll connect it to the outside line, and we're going to connect it. But kind of like we did the initial void, we're going to create that thickness, and we'll add that parameter to this as well. So we can have that thickness. And then we'll lock it to the interior. Again, the same thing. That way we can get that thickness in there. Now with this blended extrusion, we're going to go ahead and lock it to the depth like we did with the void form before. Now with it done, we can actually join or subtract the void from the mass object or the extrusion. So now we'll have the mass object that we actually want. Now that we have basic form that we want, now it's time to flex it inside the family. Let's go ahead and change some of the parameters and see what it looks like when it does it. So let's change those numbers and hit apply. And yes, it changed the way we wanted it to change. Now it's time to load this family into a project and make sure it works the way we want it to work. So here we've loaded it in there, placed it in. Now let's see if it will flex the way we want it to. Change the depth to the other wall. and go to elevation and see if it works the way we were intending it that way. And it's moving around just as intended.